Hey everyone, welcome to the CloudMonitor live demo. We're just going to wait a few more seconds to let a few more people in. There's a few people in the lobby. So there will be a chance to ask questions at the end of the demo, and please add all your questions during the demo in the Q&A section. There'll also be some polls that you can fill in. I'll start one now. And we'll get started in a second. Thanks. Okay, let's get started. So thanks for attending the demo. Today we're going to be talking about CloudMonitor, which is the extensible FinOps platform for Microsoft Azure. So I assume you're all here because you have cloud spend concerns or issues with the cloud, and our product helps you manage your cloud spend, get visibility, helps delegate responsibility down to the project teams to increase your ROI on your cloud spend and make data-driven decisions. So my name is Rodney Joyce. I'm a director and product manager at CloudMonitor. I'm also a FinOps certified professional. So if you haven't heard of the FinOps Foundation, I encourage you to check it out. It's finopsfoundation.org, I think it is. And it's got a great open source framework for helping you stay on top of your cloud spend. So CloudMonitor was born in the cloud about 3 years ago. We noticed that everyone had a massive cloud spending problem on Azure. The native tools are good, but they have various weaknesses, which we'll discuss in a short while. We're a Microsoft partner here in Australia, and we won the Microsoft Partner of the Year, and we have various specializations. Our product is also one of 7 specialty certified solutions. Okay, so some housekeeping. All cameras and mics are off except my own. Feel free to ask questions in the chat and we'll address them afterwards. We will share the recording and the slides on our YouTube channel and send an email to everyone who attended. And everything you see today is available in the CloudMonitor trial that you can download in your own time. Okay, so first of all, I'd like to talk about the problem with cloud spend and why we need a tool like this. So the cloud by nature allows rapid scaling. This allows you to innovate and experiment quickly. We don't want to stifle that. We don't want to put gates and rules in place to stop our developers and our innovators innovating. We want to keep that rapid application capability, but with that comes great responsibility, and it's very easy to make mistakes and generate huge costs without realizing it. We have a lot of potential costs at our disposal. So without these management controls, costs can quickly spiral. So the first problem is that developers in dev cycles are not accountable for their costs, and they lack the visibility to see what they're spending. So, for example, a developer's in an agile sprint, they've got sprint deadlines. If the product manager says, something is due by the end of the week, the first thing they're going to do is spin up the size of the service. They're not going to worry about the costs because they don't pay for it. They also don't really understand that costs have to be paid by someone, and it's not actually a free service. And I'm obviously generalizing here. There's a lot of very good developers who do understand this, but there's a general trend amongst dev teams to not worry too much about the cost, and that's slowly changing over time. If we go upper level, the business unit owners also don't have visibility on their costs. So currently in Azure, you can set up budgets and alerts, etc., at subscription level and resource group level, but that's not really how projects work. Our projects are made up of multiple resource groups, various subscriptions, shared resources, etc. So we need visibility at the business unit level. And right at the top, you got the execs who want to understand, is the cloud spend trending correctly and aligned with our strategic investment in the cloud? They're not too worried about technical concerns. They don't care what an app service is. They want to understand, are we getting return on investment on our cloud spend? And currently, none of these questions are very easy to answer. then there's this disconnect that we all know about between the time that the resource is created by the technical person and the time that it's paid for by the financial person. And these two people don't speak each other's language. So if there's a problem in the bill, the finance person can't look at this bill and say, oh, that's abnormally, that shouldn't be there. They don't have the context and all the technical ability to understand that. And likewise, the technical people don't have visibility on the financial information. And this disconnect is made worse by the fact that there's a time delay from the time the resource is created to the time it's invoiced. There's also a general lack of governance. So simple questions like who created something, why they created it, and when they created it. We can't see all that information in the cloud very easily. We have limitations on native tooling. So the Azure portal cost tools are excellent. Our product is built on top of the APIs. One of the downsides, though, is that no business user ever logs into the Azure portal. It's a very technical tool. It also requires you to be very proactive. So you have to go and set up budgets. You have to talk to the business and say, what budget do you want? IT then have to set it up. Whereas we believe that some of these tools should be in the hands of the business unit owners, not the technical team. There's also in the cloud complex pricing structures that change frequently. It's every single service has their own meter type, the way they bill per second or per minute or per hour, their own nuances for optimization. It's a very complex area, and it's possibly unreasonable to expect one person or a team to stay on top of every single service in Azure as the ecosystem expands. And lastly, even the best developers make mistakes. So even the people who develop our product, who are building a FinOps product, they leave clusters running. They leave a database cluster running. They forget to downsize something. It's human nature. There's going to be errors. Now, what you want, though, is to catch those errors as quickly as possible and alert the right person at the right time. So coming back to what is actually FinOps, many people think that it's about cost reduction, which is actually incorrect. So FinOps is an operational framework and cultural practice. And this definition is taken verbatim from the FinOps Foundation website, which is a cloud agnostic, technology agnostic framework. It's a cultural practice, so it's very much like DevOps. It spans multiple teams, which is why it's so difficult to implement, because you have to communicate between two different teams. It's a framework, and it maximizes the business value of the cloud. So for every dollar you spend, it maximizes the return on investment on that dollar. It's not necessarily about spending 80 cents instead of a dollar. If spending $1 makes you $10 of profit, it makes sense to increase your spending. But right now, we don't know what the return on investment of the cloud spend is, and that's the problem. In order to do this, though, we need timely, data-driven decision-making. And in order to get this, we need very accurate, up-to-date reporting. And this creates a financial accountability between the different disciplines. Now, our product, our aim is to achieve this. So our solution is CloudMonitor. On average, customers save around 23% on their cloud bill if they follow the recommendations and implement the FinOps practices. We've got various case studies on our website. So basically, the way it works is we've got the Azure APIs at the bottom. We've got focused billing data coming into the analytics engine. Now, if you haven't heard of Focus, Focus is an initiative by the FinOps Foundation. It's open source. It's cloud agnostic as well. It spans all the different vendors, so GCP, AWS, and Azure, and other multiple clouds. And it basically standardizes billing so that the way you measure your cost savings on a reservation on Azure will be the same as you do in AWS and the same as you do in GCP. The format of your billing standard becomes the same. So it's very easy to merge billing data from multiple cloud vendors. Now, it's currently in release status, release candidate version 1. CloudMonitor are contributing members of the working group, so we meet every week at very early hours and discuss what should be in the spec, which gives us the advantage of being able to adopt it very quickly. So our product is already using the Azure focused billing data. We bring that into our analytics engine. Excuse me 1 second. We bring that into our analytics engine, which is where our cost anomalies, recommendations, and analytics take place. And this is an Azure infrastructure. It's essentially a big data platform built with Synapse. And then we have multiple user interfaces. So we have the CloudMonitor admin app, which is where you set up your business units, you take action on recommendations and anomalies, and set up your budgets. The Teams bot is used for the real-time alerting on budget alerts, cost anomalies and recommendations, and goes to the owner of the resource, which is the person who's financially responsible for it. And then on top of this, we have our visualization toolset, which is our BI platform. Now, most of our customers are already using Power BI or Fabric in some sort of capacity. Our product requires a Power BI Pro license. It's a suite of reports. So we've got a FinOps product, which is the one we're demonstrating today. Microsoft 365 usage and licensing is actually being merged into FinOps. So our vision is to give a single pane of glass across your M365 spend. So all your Copilot licenses, Fabric spend, Power BI, Power Platform, etc. In addition to your Azure infrastructure. We also have components of security and compliance. And at some point in the future, we're going to introduce sustainability reporting. So every single engineering decision and architecture decision has a cost impact and a carbon impact. And we want to help the developers make these decisions. Now, all of this front end is actually in GitHub. So we've open sourced the front end, which means that this platform's extensible. If you have a use case that we don't handle yet, you can download the PBIX files from Power BI and you can extend it. Okay, so what makes our product different? There's 101 different FinOps tools on the market. The first one is that we are dedicated for Microsoft Azure. We understand Azure very well, and this helps us maximize the cost savings, and we have very simple marketplace deployment. So when you buy CloudMonitor, you're actually dealing with Microsoft. You're not dealing with CloudMonitor as a vendor, so procurement's very easy. It's a buy and build solution. So, there's various arguments about buying versus building. And some of them are perfectly valid depending on your situation, but we want to buy and build solution. We buy the base product, and if it doesn't meet your needs, you can extend it. And if it does, happy days, we keep upgrading it every month. Because we install into your tenancy, your cost data stays inside of your organization. So this is a very important point. We spoke to many government agencies that didn't want to send their sensitive cost data to a SaaS product outside of their organization and then lose track of where that data is going. Everything stays inside of your tenancy. And we've certified by the FinOps Foundation. Okay, so we'll switch to the live demo. I'll just quickly go to the demo. Just a reminder to put all your questions into the chat, please. Okay, so this is the CloudMonitor.ai website. And what I'm going to show you is actually a live demo that's embedded into our website. So you can see the same demo and play around with it if you wish. So we'll go to Platform, Live Demo. And this page has 3 different personas. So these are the different personas involved in FinOps. We have a CFO who can see all business units. We call business units cost groups. We have a project manager who can see only their business unit. They can't see other costs in the business. And we have an IT engineer who manages the whole system. Now, we have the two different applications, the report demo and the admin app. You can open these in an incognito window and log in with any of these credentials to view the product. So I've already opened it. I'm logged in here. So this is the first thing you see when you open CloudMonitor. You'll notice that there's an overwhelming number of reports and a lot going on. So you can white label the product to match your branding. Every report has the ability to switch between the actual cost and the amortized cost. So that's in focus, that's called build and effective. And this will show you whether your amortized cost, which is your take into account your reservations spread out over time, versus your actual cost, which is the time at which it was billed. And it depends on why you're looking at the cost as to which one you want to see. Now, the first thing you'll notice is that we have a cost group filter. So these are your business units, and I'm going to show you in a second how we set up business units. We want everything to be in the context of a business unit, not a technical resource. You can still filter on things like subscriptions, resource groups, tags, but we highly encourage you to set up your cost groups first. So how do we set up our cost groups? We're going to switch over to the admin app. So this is how the admin app looks. This is where we take action. Everything's locked down with Active Directory. So everything goes through AD as standard logging, MFA, etc. User groups, roles, that's all very standard. We go to our cost groups. In our demo site, we have a whole lot of demo data. So yeah, we set up application 1. If we open application 1, we'll see that it's got an owner, and this is the person who's financially responsible for this cost group. We can add a purpose and other details. It's got an audit trail, and I'll show you this in a second. Then we can see the subscriptions and resource groups that make up this cost group. So we can add any resource groups we like across different subscriptions. We can say, actually, we want to monitor, other resources, or we could add whole subscriptions. And that's adding subscriptions and resource groups without using tags. Now, there's a way of adding them if you prefer to keep them. If you would prefer to manage your cost groups with tags, I'll show you that in a second. Every cost group has a budget. So we turn on budgeting by default. The moment you choose your technical resources, it goes and looks back at the last 6 months of history, and it defaults the budget. So we can edit the budget. So we can see that see the costs for the last 6 months and the forecasted cost, and it will show you the average budget based on those 6 months. Now, the cost group owner can come in and change this and say, actually, I want to tighten the budget or make it looser. And they can set thresholds. Now, we don't just notify when the thresholds are exceeded, so it's 50, 75, and obviously 100%. We also take into account the pace of the budget. So if on day 1 you spend 49% of the budget, your forecast is going to be out, and we'll send you an alert saying at this pace you are forecasted to exceed your budget, and then Nicole can go in and make adjustments and work out why the budget's going to be exceeded. Okay, so I'll show you how to make a dynamic cost group. If we prefer to make things from tags, I'll call this dynamic cost group. And we're going to say here, yes, this is dynamic. And we're going to say where the tag name is app code, whatever matches your tags, and this is marketing. And we can use 2 different tags, and this will basically go and look at all your resource groups where they're tagged with marketing and bring them in here automatically. So this is a dynamic cost group. Excuse the spelling of group. So let's go back to our application 1. So the moment we have a collection of resources, these cost anomalies and recommendations start appearing. So cost anomalies are very simple. If something costs more than the day before by a certain threshold, which is adjustable, we will send a notification via the Teams bot to the right person and an email. And that will go to the owner of the resource. If you don't change the owners, they inherit from the cost group owner, but you can change them at a lower level. So what happens now is James gets this Teams bot message saying, hey, this resource spiked by 10%. And he can come in here and he's got this simple kind of workflow that he can follow. He can snooze it. He can open it in the resource in Azure and have a look at it. So it should be noted that CloudMonitor is not an automated optimization system. It doesn't do things for you. It provides actionable insights. The responsibility lies with the owners in the teams to take action. And they can dismiss this. So let's say, for example, I look at this spike here. This one actually went down, which is good. And I say, okay, that went down because we turned that off. I can dismiss this. And now I dismiss a cost and I have to give a reason. We turned it off. Now, anything I do like that will go into the audit trail. So let's say, for example, I want someone in my team to have a look at this. I can say, actually, I want to send this to Nicole and say, I think this is a bug in our ARM template. And Nicole will get a message from us saying, the logged on user asked you to have a look at this. If we go to the audit trail, we will see these messages. So even if you raise the resources in Azure, we keep the audit trail here. So you can see our messages, you can see our dismissal of the recommendation. So we start to build this kind of governance and audit trail about these resources. So this is a great little workflow. It's the exact same thing for recommendations. So this recommendation is saying that this storage account is using geo-replication. Now, if you switch it to local redundant storage instead of geo-replicated, you'll save $7,000. Now, we all know that you probably want to use geo-replication in production if you've got business requirements. However, in dev, you often don't need these, and developers often just use the defaults. So you can actually save a lot of money here. But let's say, for example, we know that this is production, so we'll say pod requires Jira replication. Okay, now a lot of companies already use Jira or ServiceNow. So we have a webhook. Every time these budget alerts or cost anomalies or recommendations are sent to an owner, we also send them to a webhook. And we've set up a demo in Jira to show how this looks. So you can integrate it with any ITSM system. It's one-way integration, so it pushes the alerts into the system. It doesn't come back. You manage your alerts through here. So if you already use Jira, you can add these to your board or to ServiceNow or whatever system you use. Okay, members, basically we can add members from our group into, sorry, we can add members from our company into the cost group, and we can choose what they can see. So I could say, okay, my project manager can see the reports, my technical lead can see the application and take action on cost anomalies, and they can't see anything else. I'll just show you one more cool thing in the admin app. We have this concept called virtual tags. So virtual tags are basically a way of fixing historical data. So if we look at our tags, we'll often see there's misspellings, there's policies changing over time. You can never fix historically tagged data. You can only fix it moving forward. But we have a way of fixing it. So if you see created by, we want to capture all the different misspellings, they're case sensitive, and we want to normalize them to this value. So in the front end on our reporting, we'll only see this value. All of these will be essentially cost allocated to the right tag, so you won't dilute your cost centers. In the next version that's coming up in the next month, we're releasing a thing called favorite tags, where you can say environment, for example, is a special tag, and I want that to be next to the cost group in the filters. So switching back to the reports, there'll be environment over here. So you can say within my cost group for marketing, I want to look at the prod environments or the dev environments. Okay, so we'll switch back to the report. So now we know how these cost groups are made. This is the executive summary overview. Just conscious of time, I'll spend another 2 minutes on the reports and then take questions. So this shows us our fiscal year costs and how we're trending, last few months of costs, our tag hygiene, security vulnerabilities, but all of this is in the context of a cost group as well. So if business unit 1 was logging in, they would see their secure score, and you can therefore gamify it. You can say, each team has to make sure that their secure score is 100%, or that they have all tags, or they have no cost anomalies. Now, I won't go through every report, but the cost group report is basically looking at all the business units in the system, and it shows the current monthly build cost against the budget and the forecast. And nothing's exceeded the budget yet, but if it looks like it's going to exceed the budget, then we mark it in different colors. We can drill into any of these cost groups. So if we have a look at this cost group, application 1, we can have a look at our budget. So at this pace, we're going to exceed it by a small bit. We can see who created it. We have all these different tags at the top. So we're currently looking at the overview tag. We can look at the cost tag to see what makes up this cost group. And we can look at the fiscal period and see the difference. We can have a look at, it's Power BI, so we can drill right down to the day level. We can look at the cost anomalies and recommendations for this cost group. We can look at resources in this cost group, and we can look at the audit trail and tags. Now, I haven't refreshed the report. That's why we don't see the 3 new audit trail entries that we entered. But you can see that we have an audit trail. The great thing with these Power BI reports is that you can subscribe to them. So I can say, I want to subscribe each business unit owner to their report every month. Or I could say, send a snapshot of the executive summary to the execs every month. So on the 1st of the month, I want to send a PDF or a PowerPoint or just this link saying, here's your report. So you really want to delegate responsibility down to your business units. Month-to-month variance is a great report. So this is all about understanding what changed. So we're going to show our costs by business unit. And where it's dark red or light red, it means there's been an increase of a certain percentage. So for example, in February, application 2 jumped by 4,000. So let's understand what caused that jump. We click on this box here and we see the individual resources that contributed to that jump. And there's one here, this guy jumped 4,000. So let's drill into this resource and have a look at what it is to try and understand what caused the spike. So we have a person to talk to, which is the main problem. We know when it was created. It's a database. We can go and look at the costs that make up this database. So it's using P4 disks and it's switched to P6 disks. So that's probably the reason why the cost went up. At least we have information we can talk about. We can have a look if there's any issues here, and we can see what's been done to this resource. We can look at the same view by subscription resource group. So, you know, what are your resource groups that's increasing? This guy jumped, let's look at this one. This guy jumped 6,000. Again, you can see the contributing resources. We can have a look at, it by meter name. Now, is our use of P4 disks increasing or not? Are we using more VMs? Is our licensing increasing? So it's very, very powerful. You can even look at it by who's creating resources. So that's the executive summary menu. The cost dashboard, they're just more ways of finding out where your costs have gone. Different views are kind of the same thing. So for example, the cost explorer, if I want to understand where my cost is going, let's say I'm logged in as business unit 3. I want to understand where did my 98,000 go? I can say, show that to me by resource group. I can see that there's one big HR backend group. I can say, show it to me by service category. It's all compute. Show that to me by meter category. It's all storage, and I can ultimately drop down to the resource level and then drill into this. So these three are kind of the contributing factors of this 90,000. So it's all about finding out what's causing the problems. So we have the time. So cost anomalies. These are the same anomalies we see in the app. This is a nice report that you can subscribe to. So you could say every team is responsible for their own anomalies. This opens up in Azure, so you can have a look at it. We can drill into any level of the hierarchy to have a look in more detail. Recommendations, we have 6 different types of recommendations aligned to the WAF, well-architected framework, cost, security, etc. We actually merge our own custom recommendations with the Azure Advisor recommendations. So for example, using standard disk instead of premium is one of ours, whereas let's have a look at another one. Azure backup, excuse me, should be enabled. That's going from Azure Advisor. They all go through the same notification and workflow engine. Security, this is a great way of understanding where your easiest ways to improve your security are. And again, you delegate that down to the technical teams, let them do it themselves on the architecture that they build. They know it best. Reservations, we have a whole section on reservations. Are you utilizing reservations effectively? If you don't use a reservation, it's 100% wastage, and multiple resources could vie for that reservation. So we'll understand who used it, and then you can do chargeback on those reservations. We have performance, operational excellence, reliability. We have an expiring service principal report. So when a service principal expires, it causes all sorts of havoc in a production system. So we help the team stay on top of their expiring service principals. And then we have recently created resources. We have virtual machines where you can look at, are you using Azure hybrid licenses, and et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to stop there just in the interest of time. The Microsoft 365 report's coming in the next 2 months, I would say, where you can see your licensing and other costs. So let's just have a quick look at the questions. So David said, is there a way to automatically map tags to business context? Yes, that's the dynamic cost groups that I showed, David. I can follow up with you afterwards if necessary. So you can keep your cost groups in sync with tags without having to do anything. Any other questions? Okay, I'll be ending off. So just a reminder, you can download the trial, exactly what you saw today. You can see it online and you can download it from this link. I'll send these slides out.